Hello, Internet. Welcome to episode 1 of Obi-Wan coverage, popcorn chicken, all that fun stuff. Welcome to A&R. Let me put a little thing, a banner thing, so that you know where to find us on the internet. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, the internet places. Right, Theo? Yeah, he's excited. So, we're going to talk about episode 1 and 2 of the new Disney Plus Obi-Wan show. Deal. That's rude. You need to ask consent. So I'm going to bring on Nathan.
Hello there.
Hello. Wait, I'm going to put... nice. I get it. Topical.
Nice. I've gotten used to saying that so much now that it just comes out.
Yeah. I don't know if Elvin's joined. Elvin's currently in Las Vegas watching wrestling and whatnot. He did give us a little review, his review of Obi-Wan, so I'm assuming he's not coming, but anyway, he might join us randomly. So, okay, first off, before we get into Obi-Wan, I have a story of my morning today. It involves a child who
I'm already nervous about this. As soon as you say it involves a child.
It involves a child who drives a Range Rover, Starbucks, and the police.
Gosh, what a great way to start your day.
Is yeah, I mean, I didn't even need the coffee after that point. So I go into Starbucks. I park my car, and it's like torrential downpouring randomly, but the sun is out. So it's just weird in general. Park my car, and I parked it like I was in the lines. This douchebag with a Range Rover is like diagonal, whatever, because that's pretty sure when you buy a Range Rover, that's one of the tests. You have to park like a dickhead, and then they give you the Range Rover. That's just the system. So, park, going to Starbucks, waiting in line, looking at my phone, and this guy comes up, like borderline foaming at the mouth, and he's just like, "Hey," and he gets like immediately in my face, and I'm just like, "Geez, okay, I can smell what you had for breakfast yesterday." And he's like he's already stuttering, like he's already so mad, and I'm just like, what the fuck? So he's like, "Do you Fiat?" And I was like, what? And he's like, "Do you drive a Fiat?" And I was like, yes. And he's like, "You blocked me in." And I was like, okay. And in my head, I'm like, oh, that's the guy who parked like an asshole. And in his defense, I parked pretty close to him, but I like
to the Range Rover or to the other car?
Yeah, to the Range Rover.
Okay.
Other car, I had plenty of space, parked like a normal human being. But I kind of looked over for a split second, I was like, oh, okay, he's leaving, because like he was still in his car or whatever, and I didn't pay much attention to it. He didn't okay, if he had rolled his window down and been like, "Hey man, parked a bit close," I would have been like, "Oh shit, sorry man," and then backed out and moved a little bit, whatever,
like a normal person.
like a normal human fucking being. But so he comes up and wants to smell my face, and then he just starts stammering, and he's just like, "You're a fucking asshole." And I was just like, "Excuse me?" He's like, and he just starts rambling and incoherently. And I was just like, okay. And it's packed in there. There's 6 people in lineup. There's this frail old lady in front of me, and all the staff, everyone's staring. They're playing Coldplay on the speakers, and everyone's just oh. And I was just like, okay, do you want to talk to me like a normal adult? And he's like, "Excuse me?" And I was like, "Do you want to talk to me like a normal adult?" Because at this point, I know why he's mad. And again, had he been like, "Hey man, you parked a bit close," I would have been like, "Oh, I'm sorry, man. just wasn't paying attention or whatever.
Yeah.
Even though he did park like an asshole, but like I equally parked. No, I parked a little bit in spite of him. So then again, we're in line, and so he's foaming at the mouth and just like stammering gibberish. And then he's just like, he just keeps saying like, you're an asshole. And I was just like, all right, if you want to act like a child, then I'm not going to move.
Yeah.
And he's just like, fuck you, man. And then he just like storms off and leaves. Old lady in front of me is just like, I'm sorry. Well, he shouldn't have acted like that. And I was just like, well, you know, he hasn't had his coffee yet. And she's like, ha, 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 ha. Every single one of the staff was just like, I'm really sorry. There's some like weird vibes in Starbucks today. And I was just like, yeah, I guess. Anyway, and they're like, are you okay? And I was like, yeah, I'm fine. And they're like, I wouldn't have been able to handle it like that. And I was just like, it was fine. And so then I order, and then he gets in line. And I'm just like, oh, this is going to end well for him. Hold on. Am I wide open already? Yes. Okay. So he gets in line, starts waiting. I order my stuff, go and wait.
Yep.
I had like 3 people just like come up to me and be like, that guy's an asshole. And I'm like, I know, right? And then I get my coffee, get the things, go to leave. There's like 4 cops sitting at the door. And like, I don't like look at them, or like I just like kind of scan and whatever. I don't like signal at them or look at them, whatever. Yeah. And so as I'm leaning, I like go to push the door with my back. And like I look over at him, he gets up to the front, and then the barista there is just like, no. And he's like, excuse me? She's just like, no, I'm not serving you. And he's like, what the blah, 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 blah. So he starts leaving. The cops stand up, and I'm just like, okay, I'm getting the fuck out of here. So I just like slowly back up and just let out just like a ha, and then walk out. And it's just like, I get outside, I'm underwater. Like it's so heavily raining. It was insane. I get out, go into my car, start it up. I look over and I'm like, yeah, it's a bit close. Again, had he been like, hey man, you blocked me in, I would have been like, fuck dude, I'm sorry. You know what? Here, let me buy you a coffee. But instead he wanted to be a child about it. So I was like, fuck that and fuck you.
Yeah.
So then one of the cops comes up, and like as I'm like getting my phone ready, getting the sat nav, blah blah blah, whatever, I hear his knock on my window, and I'm just like, if this is the fucking guy. So I like slowly turn over and just immediately just have like resting bitch face, look over, and it's this like young like redhead cop, and she's just like, roll her window down, and I was like, okay. And she's like, are you okay? And I was like, oh, yeah, I'm fine. And she's like, yeah, I had like 3 staff come up to me and tell me what happened. I kind of heard a little bit, but like then he just like left in a tiff. And I was just like, yeah. And I look over, essentially told her, I was like, I mean, yeah, I guess I parked a little close to him, but she's like, he's diagonal. I was like, I know, fuck that guy. And then she's like, are you okay? And I was like, yeah, I'm fine. Again, if he didn't want to be a dick about it, I would have moved, but fuck that guy. She's like, yeah, anyway, have a good day. And so that was my morning Starbucks coffee.
And that's the Starbucks that's the drink that you got there.
This is the drink that I got. It's full of I don't know. Yeah. So now I'm double up, and I've got endorphins running through me. So that's how I started my day.
You know, great way to start the day, just with a bit of adrenaline.
Yeah. Ready to talk about Obi-Wan.
Oh yeah, I'm excited for this.
So, episode 1, the start was so good. They do like a little intro to the backstory. They show a bunch of clips and a few deleted scenes, actually, I noticed. Like from watching the special features of the original trilogy on DVD. Like there's just a couple little like I think some conversations with Bail Organa, like just a couple lines here and there that weren't actually in the movies, but they were like a deleted scene or extended scene or whatever. So they do the full like backstory of like Obi-Wan and Anakin, and you were my brother, I loved you, I hate you.
Well, that was so I love that they put that in there. That was so good.
Yeah, and also I got shivers the whole time because like it also started with with what's Samuel L. Jackson's character?
Mace Windu.
Mace Windu. You know, good old Sam Jackson. And so I got shivers from that because there's been a bunch of internet talk about how Samuel L. Jackson might be coming back or whatever. So I heard his voice and I was just like, oh shit. And then it starts. So you get the previously on Star Wars. And then it goes to Jedi Temple and it's got these kids going through their katas and like practicing sick moves and doing some Jedi Tai Chi, some Jedi Chi. And then Order 66, boom. Clone Trooper comes in, starts shooting shit. She pulls out her lightsaber. The choreography was awesome.
You like that choreography?
In the beginning bit?
Yeah,
okay,
just the temple scene. Yeah. I hated it.
Really?
Yeah, I was like, oh, this is Disney trying to do Star Wars moves right here. She was like whirling around for like 15 seconds just right in front of them, and it like we've seen clone troopers being taken down by Jedis before. It's a second. It's very quick. And then she's just standing there twirling around through the hallways when she's moving. She does twists when no one's even shooting at her.
I haven't. You just rewatched it or watched it this morning?
Just this morning. Did you watch it last night?
Yeah, I watched it last night. I'll have to watch it again because I'm usually pretty any like superfluous twists or spins or whatever, I'm usually immediately just like, ugh.
But I didn't put it in there well enough that it's hard to kind of tell.
Sure.
But, you know, there's one or two where I saw she just twist and then there'd be like a second before anyone would shoot. And I'd be like, okay, what was the point of that?
Yeah, I did notice that a couple times later in I think the second episode, there was a couple or like there was a punch. There was a part where Obi-Wan goes to punch one of the bounty hunter people, and he just like punches a guy, and then the other guy's just like, hey, what's going on over here? And like just stood there, and then he gets punched in the stomach or whatever. But it like the lightsaber hits were brutal. I was expecting a lot of, you know, hidden or like quick cuts away from when somebody gets hit by a lightsaber, but like the sparks and the special effects for whenever anyone was hit by a lightsaber looked really fucking cool.
Yeah. Just the lightsaber itself, just it being on.
Yeah.
Very nice. Very nice.
They definitely the lightsabers had weight to them.
Mm-hmm.
And then so yeah, you get that scene. The camera work I thought was really cool. Like it was shaky cam, but not enough that you couldn't see anything. Then you get the title screen. And
before we continue, one thing that was going through my head that I had to say, when they're going through the hallways of the temple, this is a little criticism, but not too much. It's just, to me, it felt almost like a Disney ride where, you know, you're going somewhere. Oh no, look to your right. There's something going on there. We can't go there. And then you just move the other way slowly. I just kind of felt a bit of that vibe. It's not too much of a criticism. It just felt, it felt like I was on a bit of a Disney ride.
Sure. I'm assuming that they're going to absolutely have a temple raid Order 66 ride since they've canceled the Pirates of the Caribbean or whatever. They're just going to replace it with clone troopers.
Wait, sorry, what? They didn't cancel Pirates of the Caribbean. Oh, you mean the movie?
The ride.
The ride. Wait, they canceled the ride?
I think so. Or they
Splash Mountain.
It might have been Splash Mountain. I don't pay much. I'm not keeping up too much. They canceled something, and I read something, and now I forget all the details. But anyway,
it's the one with all the singing animals. Something like
that. Yeah. That one was dumb anyway. So then we get a little thing, and it's 10 years later. And we get to Tatooine. Also, so this is just now in retrospect, since we know all of this, it's funny when they're going like, oh, we need to hide these kids. And then Bale is like, oh, I'll take Leia, and you know, we'll raise her as our own. And then he's like, what about the boy? And it's like, all right, we need to hide him. What are we gonna do? Put him with family. It's like, that's like the worst witness protection idea ever. It's like, oh, put it with his uncle. It's like, that would be the first place they look. And then secondly, they're like, where should we put him? Oh, Tatooine. You know, the most famous fucking planet in the Star Wars universe where everything happens. Yeah, they'll never find him there.
Yeah, it's one of those things where you just have to go with it because that's how the first movie, the 4th episode, started.
Yeah, exactly. So they did the best with what they had, which was not the best setup for hiding a super secret child or whatever.
Yeah. Not to mention that Obi-Wan Kenobi just changed his name to Ben Kenobi.
Yeah. not the same. And of course, and totally then apparently different. Like throughout these episodes, everyone's just like, oh, hey, it's Obi-Wan. No, it's Ben.
Yeah.
So then Inquisitor ships land. This is the first time we've seen Inquisitors in live action. Obviously, we've seen them in Rebels and the Force Awakens. What was the game called with Kyle Kestis? Jedi Fallen Order.
Jedi Fallen Order, yep.
Which, so there's a lot of parallels between Jedi Fallen Order and this being, but I guess, you know, they're kind of keeping it in the same vein because the Inquisitors were always being used as like Darth Vader's right hand pretty much and hunting down Jedi. So there's some cohesion between that. So they land, we get to see the Inquisitors, the Grand Inquisitor, which I know a lot of people on the internet were pissed because he doesn't really look like the species and it just looks like a dude in makeup. I don't know if they just didn't pick the right scenes for the trailers because a lot of people were kind of miffed that he just had like regular eyes. But throughout the episodes, the Grand Inquisitor, you see a lot of like yellow tinge in his eyes and stuff. So yeah, I don't know if that was added after the fact that the internet fucking lost its shit or whatever, but
so his species in the movies has already been shown, and they've got elongated heads.
Yeah,
and then the eyes are kind of, you're right, they're like tinged reddy yellow.
Yeah, and the teeth too.
Yeah. What do you think? Before I give my opinion, what do you think of the Grand Inquisitor, of his portrayal in this?
It was I liked him. It was, I know it was blown out a lot out of proportion with the internet getting mad about how he looked and how he kind of just looked too humanoid. I mean, spoilers. So if you haven't watched the episode, go watch it because we're going to spoil the balls off it.
Oh yeah.
But spoilers, we don't really have to care about how he looks because, you know, reasons. But yeah, I would have liked that he had a longer head and teeth, but I liked how the guy acted. I liked his acting, the accents, it's a weird dynamic. I'm not 100% down with the dynamic between what's her name and the Grand Inquisitor, or the third sister.
The third sister, yeah.
Yeah, because like I'm sure it's gonna get explained a bit more. But I think maybe what the thing is that she used to be a Jedi, and that's why they kind of treat her like shit. Because they seem, they keep calling her like a
gutter rat, sort of
gutter rat or whatever. So there's like some, oh, you're a mudblood or Moogle or whatever the hell it's called in Harry Potter. So she's got Jedi blood in her, and she's not real Sith. Speaking of which, I'm pretty sure we saw a Sith, like the species.
Did we? They were. So I thought they were extinct. I could be wrong.
So did I. Yeah. There's a couple character. There's a character that had like the brows of a Sith, and like they're not always red. Like those are the pure bloods or whatever. But there's one guy. I'll see if I can find a picture or something. But anyway, that was something I noticed. But the dynamic of the third sister and the Grand Inquisitor, and also the other guy, of just how she kept like trying to find Obi-Wan. And I guess it's probably going to get explained that like she's fucked up a lot of stuff, and that's why they're so like strict on her.
Mm-hmm.
But it just kept being like, oh, she's got a lead, she's going to go do something, and then they would stop her, or she would go to like interrogate somebody or like threaten somebody, and they're like, "Hey, you need to calm down. You're a loose cannon." And it was kind of just like, yeah, but you guys are Inquisitors. Like, it's not abnormal for you to just like fucking kill a bunch of people to get information or whatever. So it seemed odd that they were so strict on her, but so I liked how he looked, and I liked how he acted. I think it could have, he could have used some prosthetic teeth and an elongated head. That would have been like best case scenario, but throughout the episode, it didn't bother me.
Yeah, no, I agree. At first, before the episode, sorry, I'm sucking on a lozenge because I have a bit of a cold.
Oh,
before the episode when I watched the trailers, I thought, oh, why aren't you doing the elongated head? We know what they look like, but actually watching the episode, it didn't really bother me. I thought the acting, his character was great. I really liked he was menacing and intimidating without being very aggressive or anything like that. I might be wrong, but I think his top row teeth were a little sharp. I can't quite remember. I think they were not as much as what we've seen before.
Yeah,
just a little bit. But you're right. That relationship that the two have, I'm not really a fan of it. And to be honest, I really dislike the third sister.
Yep.
Yeah, I like it if a villain's going to be there. I like having a cold, calculating villain. And if she is going to be the angry kind of villain there out of all the bad guys, don't give her so much of a role. Usually you give like the angry, aggressive, less intelligent villains like a thug position.
Yeah.
They're not center stage, but they've given her such an important role. I don't know. It comes off as brutish, and I don't find her as interesting as a Grand Inquisitor. But I do think that they showed us that first. This is my little theory. They showed us that first scene of all the younglings escaping from the temple. I think she was one of those younglings.
That would make sense. Yeah. And would also kind of explain the animosity that the rest of the Inquisitors have towards her. And yeah, no, I agree. Like having the Grand Inquisitor as the main guy, and then her as like a side thing that kind of keeps fucking things up, and like would kind of, I think, be more interesting. But yeah, so they land on Tatooine. They go to this bar and then starts questioning people. They throw a knife at the dudes. Then some guy stops it with the Force, and then they run out and chase him. He does the bad horror movie trope where he puts down a small awning, and they're like, "Oh, he got away.
We can't go around this."
Oh no. It says no walking. There's pylons there. I can't get around. So he gets away for some reason, and then his eyes are yellow at this point. So it like they kind of went in and out with his eyes, and I don't know why. If they had to just, because like when he was staring at her and talking to her, his eyes were super yellow, but then in like scenes before that, they weren't. So anyway,
are you talking about like the iris or just like the color around his eyes?
The color around his eyes, yeah, they were like way more yellow and like obviously yellow. And yeah, then but so then we get to the next scene. Obi-Wan's working as a meat packer, and he's taking some meat for his Obi, or no, what are they called? The little camel thing.
Oh, I can't remember. They're weird little things.
They use them a bunch in Tatooine and Theed and what are they called? Hold on, it says it right here. One sec. It is called
Eopies.
Eopi, yeah. So anyway, he's got his pet, and yeah, Eopi. And then he goes out to his cave, and then he's got a little droid security thing, tries to barter with the Jawa. We get some more. There's a lot of in the extended universe or the TV series. Jawas are getting a pretty big spot, I think. Like
They
in
are.
Book of Boba Fett, there's a lot of like backstory and lore. Do you think we're gonna get a new Jawas story TV show?
Gosh, I hope not. They're great as like the little aliens that are just running around and causing havoc. I really hope that they don't make him a centerpiece anywhere.
Yeah.
Like in the Mandalorian, in episode, I think it was episode 2 or 3, when no, it was episode 2 when he has to go after the Jawas because they destroy his ship.
Yeah.
I love that. I thought that was great. That was because that's what the Jawas do. They steal stuff. They completely scavenge everything they can find. And when you put that in the Star Wars universe, it can cause problems, but it's not like a major giant plot device. It's just like a little obstacle.
It's a world building.
Yeah, it's nice. I always like them in there. And I thought with this, it was kind of nice to see Obi-Wan having that little conversation. Yeah. I especially liked what he was buying because I thought that was a very cute little scene there.
Yeah, when he got the little T-16 or whatever, and that we see Luke playing with later in episode 4, and then he's like, the moisture evaporator or whatever starts acting up, and he's like, "Oh, I need a new thing," and then the Jawa's like, "Oh, weird, I've got that piece that seems to be broken," and then he's just like, "Yo, you're gonna fucking steal from me, at least like try and act better."
Yeah,
he goes to the moisture evaporator farm, goes and gives Luke, drops off the little toy for Luke, and then he's walking in the desert, and then the guy who magically got away by dropping an awning on these ruthless Jedi hunters runs up to him, and he's like, "Obi-Wan," he's like, "My name is Ben. You're a Jedi. I don't know what you're talking about." And then he's like, "You just need to run, get out of here." And then he runs away, and then we get introduced to little Leia Organa,
or who we think is Leia.
Yeah, that's right. She's pulling a switch around, and then we see little Leia running through the forest with her little cute droid that Disney's gonna make a bajillion toys of, and I'm probably gonna buy because they're super cute. And it was very similar actually to what is it, BD1, the Cal's
little droid that hops on his back.
Yeah, it's very similar to that. And then we see that she's trying to find all the different spaceships and identifying them, and then she's running off and stuff. I really liked Leia's character, how she was kind of like, they were hinting, because like in the new trilogy, we see a lot of Leia using the Force, which was a thing, and doing some space floating and whatever. But I liked in this how you kind of see how she's going to like be as a senator. So she's very diplomatic, and when she's like dealing with her cousin or whatever, she's kind of like reading into his mind, and like, but not like, oh, she's super powerful, blah, 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 whatever. It was subtle. It was a nice, like, she's just able, she has an intuition with people, which is kind of a cool little nod to her being a Skywalker, and then later she becomes a senator, and how she would kind of act in that regard.
Yeah, it was nice to see that they didn't betray her character. The one thing I'm cautious about with Leia, though, is with Luke. We see him, he was young, and he was this whiny kid, and he developed.
Yeah.
I really hope that they don't just make Leia, oh, she was like this from the start. I hope that you see a bit of character development. It's nice to see that she's going to be the same person, just, stronger and wiser, more mature as she gets older.
Yeah.
Well, they don't want them to just throw in all their character traits into one scene, and now there's no development.
Yeah. No, and I think that they are kind of doing that with how she's so defiant and just a little brat and keeps running away, and like she's definitely there is room for growth and, you know, her becoming more stoic and whatever, but like it's I can definitely see the, you know, Carrie Fisher later on, like a lot of those isms that she has, but it's not specifically like, oh, this is exactly how she is. So there's a lot of immaturity in there and a lot of room for growth. So yeah, I agree with that. And then it goes back to Tatooine, the most famous planet in Star Wars. And then Owen, Luke's uncle, is like, yo, Obi-Wan, fuck off. And he's like, but I gotta train him. And he's just like, no, dog. Well, like you did his dad. And then he's like, Anakin's dead. And then he gets in a little tiff and he's like, okay, fine, whatever, leave him alone. And he gives him the toy back and he's like, but I want to give him a little spaceship. And then the Inquisitor comes, and this scene was kind of weird. Again, with them being like, no, don't kill people, which is, I don't know, whatever. But she does cut off some lady's hand, which was...
That scene confused me a little bit because she said, no, you know, this is the Outer Rim. You have no jurisdiction here.
Yeah.
It's like, wait a second. Yeah, they do. They have jurisdiction over Tatooine. We even see in episode, like later on, but in episode 4, when the stormtroopers are searching for the droid, they are in that, they're on that planet. They have got a presence. We see earlier that they have a presence there. It's just the Outer Rim is so difficult to get to. They often ignore it, and that's why the Outer Rim is usually a place for all the criminal families to live, just because it's hard for the law to get there. It's not because it's out of the jurisdiction. So I got a little bit of a feeling like, oh, maybe the person who wrote the script didn't quite know, but whatever.
In episode 1, when they were first going to Tatooine, and also too, like the fact that they were like, let's go to Tatooine. It's like, that's where Anakin was fucking born. Like, he's, again, why are you bringing him to a planet to hide from this guy? I know, let's hide him in his homeworld where his other family is. But so when they're first going to Tatooine, Qui-Gon was like, oh, this it's a small planet, or Obi-Wan was saying, but it's controlled by the Hutts. So I think it's kind of like they don't necessarily have a presence there, and maybe they did later after the fact because of these types of goings on. So then the Empire kind of started having more, or looking more at Tatooine, because some shit went down there. So the Hutts controlled it, and then they were just like, whatever, you can deal with that planet. But then they were like, well, we should maybe keep an eye on this planet, since Big Daddy Vader was from there. But then the third sister talks to Owen, and I did like this interaction. It was, you kind of see a lot of Owen's distaste for the Jedi and stuff, and as we see later on, the third sister, she's fairly intuitive as far as is intuitive and can kind of see into people's minds and stuff. But she's like, what do you think about the Jedi? And he's just like, they're all shit, they're vermin, I kill vermin on my farm. And she's just like, all right, cool, we need more people like you, because she probably sensed like, he's not lying. And
she did threaten to kill him, though.
She did. Well, yeah, she was like, we need more people like you. Anyway, we're gonna kill him and his family if you guys don't speak up. And Alvin, Luke was brought there because his uncle was the one they could trust. Yes, that's true. But again, like,
so obvious.
Yeah, he's someone you can trust because he's directly related.
The Emperor, we know, is very intelligent. He planned out the whole Clone Wars and all the events that were going to happen. I think he's smart enough to know, maybe they're hiding out with this family. If suddenly one family member has a child that...
weird.
Well, that's
he's
strange.
Already 5.
Yeah, it's certainly a small plot hole. They
did their best.
Yeah.
And then we go back to Dantooine, I guess that's probably where they are with Jimmy Smits, and get to see some really cute interaction with him and Leia after she just completely roasts her cousin, and because he's like, oh, you're not even an Organa, and then she's just like, yeah, well, you just do whatever your dad says because you're scared of him, and you don't even have your own opinions. And he's like, shut up. And then she gets kidnapped by fucking Flea.
Oh my gosh. That what do you think of that chase scene? What do you think of it?
It was dumb.
That was the worst chase scene I've ever seen in any movie.
It's pretty bad.
Like they're surrounding her.
She runs into one of the guys, and he's just like, "Hey,
yeah,
I'm big and menacing," and then like doesn't like pick her up.
There's one scene as well where there's like the green woman was like running, and there's a branch clearly there, and she was running as if she didn't see the branch, and she's like, "Oh, this is a branch!
Oh no, foliage!"
It made me think this is a kid's movie.
Yeah,
this is straight up like everything else is pretty good. This scene right here is a kid's movie.
Yeah, there was and she just kept like falling down. Yeah, it was cool to see a Zabrak that wasn't red and painted. Actually, we saw a couple of Zabraks, so it's cool to see that. But seriously, when Flea showed up, so Flea, if you don't know, is the bass player for the Red Hot Chili Peppers, and he's the main bad guy in this little kidnapping spree or whatever. He's been in. What was he in? Was he in Baby Driver? I think he was in Baby Driver. And he was really good in that, and like he's legitimately a good actor. But it was just weird to see him in this. But I think he did a good job. But the second that he showed up, I was like, "Is that fucking Flea?" It was weird.
Yeah, it was kind of strange. The matching outfits for them all as well. If they're supposed to be bounty hunters or just criminals, wouldn't expect them to be wearing something like that. To me, Star Wars is a bit more gritty, less uniform. The only uniformed people generally are the bad guys. Even the rebels, the uniforms aren't always the same, except for like the pilots. But yeah, so I found that a little odd. But I won't let that detract from the rest of it too much.
Yeah. So they kidnap Leia, and then goes back to Obi-Wan, and he gets a message from the Organas, and they sneak in a little episode 4 reference of like help Obi-Wan, or your only hope or whatever. So then he's like, I do like because he's like, no, it's been 10 years, and I do like how they are showing how fucking depressed Obi-Wan is, and he's just like, dude, I'm not the same guy, like I can't come and rescue someone, and they're like, you're the only one we can trust, and he's just like, I can't be trusted. And like how guilty and like shitty because he's just been sitting here for 10 years brooding and like beating himself up about how he just like fucked up with Anakin, and all his people and friends are dead, and he's just like just a hermit, and he's like, I can't help. I'm gonna get some meat from my camel dog, and I got a toy for Luke, and so, and even just like any interaction when people were like, hey, it's Obi-Wan, he's like, I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, it's almost as if he truly believes like Obi-Wan's dead now. I'm someone else. It's quite nice, especially when he had that nightmare of all the flashbacks, and it's great to just see he is traumatized by it. Imagine raising someone, viewing them as basically a younger brother, and then only to have them turn their back, kill all your friends, and be a part of this movement that kills all your friends. And then be forced to, in Obi-Wan's mind, kill him. And that's one thing, though, we'll bring it up at the end of the second episode, but I always thought that everyone knew Vader was still around. That because he's used in Imperial propaganda, he holds an important position, he's known as the famous Jedi hunter. I thought Obi-Wan, the only reason that I could think of why Obi-Wan wouldn't have heard of him is perhaps that because Obi-Wan's so out there in Tatooine in the middle of nowhere, maybe he just hasn't heard of it.
Yeah, because at this point, let's timeline here, because like Ahsoka has like interactions with him, and he's like full-fledged Vader suit, whatever. Like in Rebels, when does that take place? That takes place.
Oh gosh, I don't watch Rebels because that one's just.
I've gone through it. I've watched through all the Rebels. I think actually, you know what? No, Rebels takes place after this, I think.
Oh yes, sorry. No, I mixed up Rebels. Rebels is not bad. They're pretty good. I was thinking of the other one that they did, Resistance.
Oh yeah, I haven't watched it. I've watched YouTube videos on like story synopses, synopsy, story wrap-ups.
Yes.
But yeah, Rebels takes place after this, and I think because Ahsoka's pretty old, she's quite older, and is closer to like Mandalorian-esque, and Rebels, obviously the Rebel Alliance is the thing. Actually, Jimmy Smits is in that one too. I think Bail Organa. I think he shows up a couple times in Rebels. So I do think that Vader still not being a full thing makes sense timeline wise, because 10 years after Order 66, he's still probably recuperating, and that's why the Inquisitors are such a big thing, because he's just like, you deal with it. And we don't, even in Rebels, we don't see him. He's a bit more prominent, but yeah, I think it's a mixture of like him still recuperating and healing and building a plan and stuff, and also Obi-Wan just hermiting and not having connection to the outside world. So he probably and because at this point, as far as the story is going, the Empire doesn't have a huge foothold on Tatooine, so he's probably not seeing a lot of propaganda and pictures of Darth Vader. Also too, at that point, if he just sees some masked figure, he's probably not going to be like, oh, that's Anakin, because
not the first reaction.
And he thinks he's dead at this point, because he left him with no limbs, on fire, and like sitting in a lava pit. So as far as he knows, he's dead. And then
before we move on, I just want to put out the communicator they had. That's a Jedi communicator. Yeah, so no one else has that except Jedi. So that's a nice little touch that they added in.
Yeah, that was the same one that they were using a bunch in the prequels. There we go. And then the next scene is the guy who talked to Obi-Wan in the deserts, the Jedi or whatever. He's dead. They've got him strung up. And then he goes back to his cave. Jimmy Smits is there, and he's like, yo, dog, can you help? They kidnapped her. And he's like, I'm not the same. And he's like, whatever, just fucking do it. And he's like, okay. And then Flea is interrogating the girl, and then we learn, oh, it's a trap. It's like, okay, well, that was obvious. And then he goes to the desert, and he uncovers a box with his and Anakin's lightsaber. And then he goes to
the spaceport.
Goes to the spaceport, and then he's like, all right, I'm going. And then he's got his lightsaber on his belt, which
I thought was like, Jedi, like some Jedi make their lightsaber into like a blaster pistol, and then when they use it as a lightsaber, they fix it up. Some Jedi like hide it in different parts.
And
you're just wearing it on your hip.
He's just walking around big dick and just like, yo, I got a lightsaber. What up? So that was a little too much hand holding. Yes, Elvin, we miss you. Of course. I hope that wrestling was good. And yes, also we could have chased down Leia better. I could have chased him down better in my sleep.
I would have just shot her
Yeah, exactly. Their stun pistol. Yeah,
something like that. Boom, just done.
Alex P, who edited the Doctor Strange review? I don't know, probably some loser. No, it was very good, and we're very proud of you, Alex. Alex is one of our editors, and he made the Doctor Strange spoiler-free review. So if you like Doctor Strange and you want to not get spoiled, go watch it because it's pretty sick. And let's see, we're about 45 minutes in. So hey, if you're watching this live or not live, you should go subscribe because we give away prizes every single month. So if you subscribe and leave a comment on a video, we might pick you and then give you cool shit.
Ooh.
I don't know what we're giving away this month. Maybe something Star Wars. Maybe not. I don't know. You'll have to tune in and find out. So that's episode 1. Episode 1. What do you give it? What do you think?
It's tricky because I've had such high hopes for it, but I also was thinking, okay, you shouldn't do that, Nathan. This is a Disney show.
Yeah.
I've seen Alvin's review. He gave it I'll give it out now. Alvin said that it was a 7 out of 10 for him.
Mm-hmm.
For me, are we allowed to do points, like decimals halfway between? All right, I do a 6.5 to be honest.
Yeah.
There's some scenes. Now Disney's been doing this for a while, but it still always disappoints me. During this stage of Star Wars, and this is canon technically, although Disney doesn't recognize it, the Force, no one basically knows about it 10 years after the Great Purge, which is Order 66. No one really knows about the Force. The Jedi are just legends. There are still some around, and the Inquisitors are still hunting them, but people don't really know much about them. They look at them as villains now rather than heroes. What Disney's been trying to do is they're trying to portray like, oh, there's hope still. There's hope. There's always hope. The problem was there wasn't. There's no hope. That's the importance of Luke and Leia. A New Hope was dead, and now they brought it back. And now Disney's like, no. There's always been hope. There's Jedi around. There's special things, and that in this episode, plus some of the, I don't know, some moments just seem too Disneyfied for me.
Yeah.
I thought Ewan McGregor did fantastic, like always. I thought a lot of the actors did a really good job, but for me, the really bad chase with Leia, some of the choreography I didn't like. I didn't like the third sister. It's not like I was like, oh, she's an evil character. I don't like her. It's like, no, she wasn't very good.
She wasn't very compelling as a villain. Again, the Grand Inquisitor.
Yes,
I really liked him.
Yeah, and they switched. I thought I was going to dislike him, but I liked him.
Sure. Same. Yeah. I thought they were going to just like super watered down and the design things that people were getting butt mad about on the internet. But I really liked his portrayal. I liked his composure. I thought was really good. And they didn't just be like, oh, he's kind of an evil looking alien and now he's a bad guy and he's super brutal. He was much more calm and collective and menacing. And I thought that was a really good choice. And even when he was talking down to the third sister, that was still really like, oh shit, this guy's a big deal. And then the third sister, it was just like why are you? And I guess like they kind of are going on the Sith characteristic where it's the rule of 2 or whatever, and the apprentice, even though they're not this, but it's that kind of dynamic where they're always butting heads and then eventually she'll kill him and take over or whatever.
Spoiler.
No, just with the Sith. I'm not talking about anything. But yeah, I didn't care about the third sister, and she was in general annoying as a character. Grand Inquisitor was cool. I thought the opening scene, again, I'll have to pick it apart. But I was like just goosebumps and was excited of the special effects and like the lightsaber hits and the camera work. I thought I was immediately just like a kid watching Star Wars again, and just like seeing the temple and the clone troopers and the Jedi like fighting them. And I was like, okay, this is fucking cool. And the chase scene was stupid. I liked that Flea was in it. Still just weirded out by the fact that the bass player for Red Hot Chili Peppers is in Star Wars, but whatever. The costumes, character design, acting was pretty good throughout the episode. But yeah, the Disneyism is absolutely here. And again, we have the Mandalorian. Like, so we've seen what can happen and what good Star Wars can be. We've had the Mandalorian, 2 seasons and the 2 episodes from Book of Boba Fett, and we know that it can be absolutely amazing. And like, even in one episode, character development and something is introduced and you give a shit and it's like emotionally moving. They have the potential to do that in a single episode. And we also have Book of Boba Fett, where we know that they can be fucking boring, disjointed story, and just stupid choices that Disney is like, oh, make them do a spin and make them look cool and do slow motion. And then
let's give them colorful rainbow bikes. Everyone's a different color.
Yeah, so we've seen the best and the worst. And this was somewhere in between for me. So yeah, I think probably 6.5, 7 for episode 1 is fair.
That's exactly what I was thinking. 6.5 for me.
Yeah. But then we get episode 2 and picks up. They go to Coruscant 2.0, whatever that planet's called.
No, I didn't pick up a name for that. Did you? It looked like from the Old Republic. I know it's not the Old Republic, but it looked like a planet called Nar Shaddaa, which was.
I was gonna say, it's Dayu. It's Daiyu.
Is that what this new planet is called?
Yeah. Why they didn't do Nar Shaddaa or Coruscant? I agree. I think they should have just done Nar Shaddaa, because that's a well-known planet. It's like Coruscant but dirtier. It's like they already have a fucking planet that this fits in, so why not just do that? But they gotta make a new planet or whatever because reasons. And so he gets to the planet. Obi-Wan's looking for the pirates, kidnappers, or whatever. And I think probably my favorite thing in the first 2 episodes was this bit where Obi-Wan's walking through, and then you get the clone trooper begging for credits.
Yes. And is it just me, or did you think that was Rex at first?
I did. I saw the blue and I thought it was Rex, and then he had a beard, and yeah, and the fact that they got what's his name? Tamia Morrison, and had him not with a mat, but just sitting there with a beard, and he's like, spare some credits for an old vet. And then Obi-Wan's fate, Ewan McGregor's acting in this was phenomenal. Ewan McGregor's amazing. I wasn't expecting anything less, but just the he was seeing a ghost, and just the horror in his eyes when he was just like, oh yeah, no problem, bud, here you go.
Yeah.
And just giving him credits, and just the amount of shit running through his head of just you guys were brothers, and then you killed everyone, and you are the turmoil in his brain when he's giving him money was just oh, this is good.
Oh, I love that. Especially, no, I would have liked it also. I would have liked it either way if they included him later on, because I always like to see the clone troopers. But I loved how they just added it in and just never brought up again.
Yep.
It's just a bit of world building, just to show you that turmoil in his head, that confusion, and I don't want to say anger, because he doesn't get angry really, but how upset he is, and you can see that wash over him, and also that moment of just the clone trooper reaching out to him. He's like, oh my god, I can't believe this is happening. That was by far one of my favorite moments, and it was just a tiny little thing they added in.
Yeah, it was absolutely just there was no oh, this will be important later on. It was just here's the thing, have fun with those feels, and you're like, fuck.
Yeah.
And then the next scene we get to see Kamal Nanjiani's character, and I was curious to see what his character, because they announced that he was in it quite a while ago, and I was curious to see, because I thought like, oh, he's good at like the sarcastic kind of comedic relief roles, and he's still doing that in this. He does have a couple moments where he like does badass things and does serious stuff, and it's not ruined by forced humor or whatever. But yeah, so he's pretending to be a Jedi to get money, and he walks in, seemingly closes a bunch of blinds with some force powers and stuff, and does like a Jedi mind trick thing over a comm link to this guy to get this family off planet, and then takes money from him. There was some good delivery, some good jokes, not too forced, not too Disney kid humor or whatever. I thought the portrayal was pretty good.
I thought I thought it was funny. I liked seeing that in there, especially because you'd think like, you know what? These force powers can be faked pretty easily. Why hasn't anyone tried to fake being a Jedi? So it's nice to actually see that in there. I thought that was clever. But
yeah,
for some reason in my mind, his portrayal of it just seemed a little too fake.
Sure.
And to the point of like, why are these people paying him? How could they not see that this is fake? And we as the audience, maybe it's just me too much being from an audience perspective, knowing that he's not a real Jedi.
Yeah.
To me, it just felt like, oh, he's ripping these people off. How do they not know? Are they? I don't know.
Maybe it might be. Yeah, it might just be because we know. But I mean, if from their point of view, they're desperate trying to get off world, and then they see him like move something with his mind, and they're like, whoa. But again, this is getting to the thing that Disney's kind of mistakenly doing, of like, the Jedi are a myth at this point, and like space wizards are a fairy tale, and it seems like this just like mom and her kid are just like, oh yeah, Jedi are real. But again, it's only 10 years, so maybe it's still like legends and not.
However, when the Solo movie takes place with Han Solo, that is, I believe, 9 years before the events of, I could be wrong, but I think it's 9 years before the events of A New Hope. So it should take place around this time, because Luke and Leia right now are 10. Unless I'm mistaken. And when the events of A New Hope take place, they're 19.
Right.
So the Solo movie should take place around then. And Han Solo and everyone in it who are already adults they already kind of don't believe in the Jedi, because the Empire has already purged all the records of them and try to get rid of them all and get rid of the memory. Anyone that would say anything about them, they try to get rid of. So it's it's just one of those things that I feel like Disney's added it in just because it's kind of, imagine in your mind as a kid, oh, I can be, play as one of these Jedi during this time period, or we can create a bunch of Jedi heroes during this time period. But yeah, it's a little disappointing as someone that's super into Star Wars.
Yeah.
But, at the same time, it was a funny scene.
Yep. And then they leave, give him money. Obi-Wan shows up, and then he does like then he holds him up at gunpoint.
I like that. I liked how he didn't try and like use his force to show off. He's like, no, this guy's a hustler. I'm just gonna pull my gun on him and then do the Jedi thing without saying I'm a Jedi and say like, you just robbed, that woman and her child, which I thought was very on character.
Yeah, and he's just like, so he gets some information, figures out where Leia is, goes to, I guess, this make your own drug workshop.
Yeah, spice.
So it's like a pizza factory or a Subway or whatever. You got to just walk in and make your own spice. And so then he figures out where Leia is. Then this was the scene with the terrible fight scene where he like goes into this back room, and then the Zabrak is like, hey, you shouldn't be here. And he's like, oh, sorry, I'm lost. And he's like, whatever, get to work. And then he's standing face to face with the Zabrak dude. He's got a guy behind him. He elbows the guy, and the Zabrak guy just stands there and it's just like, I guess I'll wait till you're done. Then he looks back at him, and then he goes, okay, now's my cue. Punch. I think a quick cut or a shaky cam would have helped hide that. But since the camera was just like, look, he's standing still and not doing anything, it was like, well, that's fucking bad planning.
Yeah.
So
now,
then,
what do you think of like the fight in general, as in Obi-Wan 10 years later not having the skills? Did you like that he didn't have the same skills as he did before, or that he didn't use the Force, or did you dislike it? What do you think?
Well, at this point, I assume that he's kind of cut himself off from it, or to go in hiding. So, and there's probably a lot of turmoil in using it because, you know, he wants to stay hidden. He wants to protect Luke. But on the other hand, Yoda trained him to speak with Qui-Gon. So he was obviously still practicing some stuff. And clearly that's going to happen at some point where Qui-Gon's going to show up in like Force Ghost mode or whatever, because he keeps talking to him and trying to communicate with him. And when he was in the cave, he like called out to him. And then there's another bit where later he was like, oh, I could really use your help now. So like clearly that's some foreshadowing. We're going to get Qui-Gon to show up in a Force Ghost, and he's going to have a talk and then give him a useful life lesson. And I'm sure that it'll be cool to see Qui-Gon. I'm kind of, it's a story beat that is very predictable. And I'm sure he's going to show up and give him the answer, and then he's to a puzzle. And but as far as him,
predictable. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Okay, but so as far as him, it didn't bother me. I do like. There was a lot of scenes where he got into a lot of fights, and at no point did he just like whip out his lightsaber and then just like wreck shop, and then it was fine. So he's still very apprehensive about blowing his cover, and I think he's still also very he's very rusty. He's been cutting meat and hanging out in a cave with Jawa, so he's super rusty. And 10 years is a while to never practice. So,
yeah. I'm kind of conflicted. On one hand, you're right. It's been 10 years. He's had no practice. He's feeling, the burden of all this happening, and he's just felt horrible. And so he's kind of just pushed off his identity as being a Jedi and pushed off the training. But on the other hand, I look at prequels and then the original trilogy. Prequels, he did so many incredible things for so long, for all of his life, ever since like a small child.
He's
a general. They basically kidnap you as a child, and from there you're trained by this order of monks until you're this, until he was a war
space
general.
wizard.
So I thought, well, 10 years, he's been fighting for a while. He would have a bit more experience and instinct than that. But then also on the other side of, in the original trilogy, when he's a lot older, although when you consider that it's only 9 years apart from his portrayal in the TV show and the original trilogy, he doesn't age very well during that time frame. But understandably, but when he reaches that time frame, he's a lot wiser, more mature. He doesn't feel as downtrodden. So I'm going to assume something happens during the TV show. Maybe it has something to do with Qui-Gon Jinn, but I understand that a lot of his fighting ability, he hasn't been practicing it, but at the same time, it's a little disheartening to see it. My only real guess, besides him not practicing, is maybe it was so connected to the Force, a lot of his abilities, and now that he's kind of disconnected himself for his own survival and for the survival of Luke, maybe that's had an impact. That's kind of the only reason I could think of.
I mean, you kind of have to explain some things away because, and like, it's kind of a meme now of just like the fact that he is so old and aged so much, and like even writers and like George Lucas and a lot like people who write Star Wars things have been like, it's what we had to deal with. There's two sons, so it fucks you up. I don't know. Sorry, this is what we have to deal with. Yeah, so it's like you kind of have to take it with a grain of salt, and yeah, maybe, you know, like again, just him being on Tatooine for 10 years now, it's like really affecting him. And yeah, you can. It's a plot hole that has been there for decades now, and it's explained away by, I don't know. There's two sons. Let's look at something else, please. Yeah. So then Flea shows up and he's like, "Yo, we have Leia," and then he does the Breaking Bad thing where he throws down some drugs on the ground and puts on a gas mask, and then he gets out. Then the third sister is like mad, and then he grabs Leia, and they run away, and then she gets mad again. Then Leia's being a little shithead, and then she's like, "I want the shiny thing," and he's like, "No, we gotta hide. Fuck." And then we see the Inquisitor again. Looks great in this scene.
Yep.
He's, you know, got the eye. He in this scene and on this planet, I don't know if it was just lighting or whatever, but minus the teeth and the elongated head, I thought looked really good. And again, I don't know if this was done after the fact or, you know, from people's opinions about how the Inquisitor doesn't look that good or as true to the original source material. But then, yeah, so then they start putting bounties on Obi-Wan, and then they're like, well, nobody's actually going to catch him. And they're like, whatever, we just want as much noise as possible right now. We just need to get him out. So they put a giant bounty on him. A bunch of bounty hunters start trying to find him. Then they're going around. Then what happens after that? Then
she runs off, doesn't she? And
yeah, that's right. Well, she runs off, ruins everything. Then the Inquisitors start chasing them. They do a cool rooftop scene. The wire work was okay.
Oh gosh, it looked like what's it called? Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. Yeah, she's just like floating across for a couple seconds. I was like, it was, to me, it was not okay. I was like, I'm fine with her having the flips and all that and like moving through it. That's what, you know, you do when you have the Force, but I don't know.
Yeah, there was some cool stunts. I think again, it could have been better camera work. Because like there's a fine line between, you know, the Bourne Identity shaky cam where you can't see a fucking thing when there's action, and then just doing a locked camera on someone doing a flip and floating, and you're like, yeah, you have the Force, but like you could have made it look cooler. And like if I'm staring at it, it looks weird. But the stunts were cool, and none of them were pointless. There was some finesse and like, oh, I'm gonna do a huck a gainer off of this thing after I, you know, and then do a roll, and it was like, it's cool. But it was like,
I'll give them that.
It was fine.
They did do it. Yeah, there's intention to the movement.
Yeah. So yeah, then they do a bunch of parkour. Obi-Wan shoots a bunch of people, and you know, he's using a blaster. Leia jumps off. Then he uses the Force to lower her again, and it looks really difficult for him.
Yeah,
I think we're kind of seeing like he hasn't done this for a while. He's super rusty, and so
I hope it's going to be like Fallen Order. What's his name? Cal from
Cal Kestis.
Where Cal at first he's super rusty. He's still relearning all the movements and all the actions. And eventually, when he does Cal Kestis, and as soon as Cal Kestis kind of reconnects with the Force, then he's back to where he was before. I hope they do this with Obi-Wan, because I'd hate for Obi-Wan to just be this permanently handicapped Jedi.
Yeah, for the whole time. So yeah, I think like hopefully after this, then he kind of gets back into the swing of things, and I hope it doesn't take like 4 episodes of him like relearning things. And we saw that with Boba Fett, and it was fucking garbage. Just like, I don't want to see somebody training. I don't need to see a 4-episode montage of him getting back into the swing of things.
Yeah, and especially because we only have 4 episodes more. We've already got 2 of them done. We got 1 episode more, and then we're halfway through. So next week we're halfway through already.
Yep. And then so then Kumail Nanjiani's character comes up, and he's like, "I'll help you." Then he goes up to the third sister, and he does some funny banter, and then she immediately just like takes the information from him. Then they go to, and he's like, "Oh, there's an automated spaceport thing. Go there. I'll help you." And he's like, "Okay, cool." So then Leia and Obi-Wan go to the spaceship. Then the Inquisitors show up. Then the Inquisitors get into a fight, and they're literally about to capture Obi-Wan. And then the Grand Inquisitor's just like, "No, back off," for no fucking reason. And then she's like, "Oh, we're about to get him." And he's like, I don't want you to lose him again, even though he's right there and they could just fucking go get him. And then she's like, and then stabs the Inquisitor and kills the Grand Inquisitor, which I was like, fuck. Dude, you had a cool character and now you don't.
You've just gotten rid of your best villain in the show. Like, sure, we know Vader's there, but like, you've just gotten rid of the main driving villain. The third sister, no one likes, or at least we don't like her. A lot of people, I'm guessing, don't like her as well. She's not as calculated and cold. She just is aggressive hothead.
Yeah, which is not fun to watch because it's just somebody punching. It's just a Kyle. Like, it's just Call of Duty, monster drinking. I'm gonna punch a wall because I'm butt mad and I don't get my way. So and she seems to have and she kind of mentioned it a couple times, but a fairly close connection with Vader, because she brings it up a couple times. And while they are like the right hand or the fist of Vader, the other guys don't really mention that, but I guess she's just like, "Oh, do you know who my boss is?" And she brings that up to Obi-Wan, and then while she's like looking for him and he's hiding behind a box or whatever, she's like, "Oh yeah, Anakin Skywalker's alive," which is a weird statement and I don't like.
Oh yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
No, you go.
No, from what I know is that no one knows that he's Anakin. Everyone thinks he's just Darth Vader. He's just a fucking entity of death. And somehow she's like, "Oh yeah, I know this." Which, okay, so your theory that she was a Jedi during the Purge, and that's why everyone hates her, because they were just like trained and born into the Sith or the Inquisitors or whatever. So the fact that she's a recruit or a convert makes sense as to why they don't like her, and possibly why she knows that he's Anakin. Because also when Ahsoka later on was going up against Vader, she didn't know that he was Anakin, but then she sensed it and was just like, "Oh shit, you're the guy." So that might be a story thing of like she knew him during. It could be. It's one of those things that if we just wait and see it a bit more, to be honest, because I'm not liking how much they're revealing. Like, oh look, this thing that the audience knew about. Well, guess what? We're making everyone in the universe know about it too. Yeah. It feels like those big secrets that were hidden are no longer there. Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, Star Wars definitely has a problem with over-explaining things and ruining mysticism and mystery, which is a lot of the fun and allure of it, of just like unknown legends and secrets and stuff. But they do have a tendency to be like, "Here's all the explanation of this shit," and you're like, "Fuck, now that's ruined. It's not cool anymore." And yeah, a big thing of just like Vader being this entity of fear, and seemingly the Jedi not being or the Jedi being common knowledge, and people knowing who the fuck Vader is, and like Obi-Wan not being that hidden, and like 4 random people just being like, "Hey, Obi-Wan," and he's like, "Oh, okay."
Yeah.
It just seems like he wasn't that hidden. Nothing's that secret, and everyone knows everything.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah. But no, after the scene, immediately after when they fly off, the Vader scene.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We get a glimpse at him in the bacta tank. We get and we get Anakin or Obi-Wan kind of sensing after she told him, "Oh, Anakin's alive" or whatever. And she tells him that, and then Inquisitor dies. And then he's sitting in the ship and like senses it, and then you see Vader in the bacta tank and eyes open, and then credits. Which kind of downplays the fucking scene in Empire when Obi-Wan's on the ship or no, not Empire. Is that New Hope?
Oh, New Hope.
New Hope. When he's like,
when he first meets him?
Yeah. Oh, a presence I haven't felt in a long time. It's like, no, I guess it was like almost a decade. So that's a long time. Time in the Star. Okay, here's a plot hole explainer. Maybe years in Star Wars because planets different. Maybe years are longer. Maybe 10 years is 20 or whatever. Anyway,
maybe.
But like, there's a presence I haven't felt in a long time. It's like, well, you had a pretty big interaction with him. It seems like you're building up to it, so it's.
Yeah, I really hope they don't. I love the current canon concept that there's that period of that big final fight, and then they meet again. And there's that line that Vader has, when I last saw you, I was the apprentice, but now I'm the master, something like that.
Yeah, and implying that they haven't seen each other since Mustafar.
Yeah, yeah, and if you have the fight in this show, then it's like he's admitting to still being the apprentice, and Obi-Wan's being the master. It's yeah.
I hope that they don't have a fight. I really do, because that absolutely downplays A New Hope and the original trilogy. And I think that they're probably going to do it, or he's just chasing him and they never meet, and Vader is always just like one step behind him or something. And
that could happen.
I don't know.
If they do have some sort of interaction, I really hope that Vader is more like how he is in Rogue One, an aggressive
Texas
murdering
Chainsaw
machine.
Massacre.
Yeah, just go through, just kill everyone. We don't get to see Vader like that very
arguably
often.
One of my favorite scenes in a Star Wars movie was that end scene of Rogue One, where he just mows through like 8 dudes, holds a guy on the ceiling, then impales him, and people are clamoring at the door, screaming to get out.
That was so good. That actually shows you Vader at his full power, what he's capable of. And that's not even like him like just wanting to like decimate them. He's like, no, I'm just gonna walk through this hallway right now.
Slowly. Yeah. So what's your score for episode 2?
This one, I'm gonna give a 7.5. I thought that the background, like the new planet, was well done. They didn't need to make a new planet, but I thought the scenery looked really nice. There's still moments I didn't like the Grand Inquisitor being killed. I really hope he's not actually dead. We know now that people in Star Wars, if they get hit in that part of the body, like the gut, that they could come back.
They're fine. Maybe he'll come back as like a robot spider and be fucking sick.
Yeah. So that was good. I liked most of Obi-Wan's interactions with Leia, where Leia, doesn't quite trust him. He's still the stranger. I don't like how Leia knows all the stuff about Jedi. She's an Imperial Senator's daughter. She'd definitely know not to talk about that stuff at all to anyone. Otherwise, their family could be in trouble from the Emperor. But, Disney just needed to add that in.
Okay, actually, but... because in A New Hope, she is very aware of Obi-Wan.
Yes.
And she's asking for his help. And the line where she's like, oh, you fought alongside my father in the Clone Wars. Obviously, she's referring to Bail Organa, Jimmy Smits.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, she's acutely aware of who Obi-Wan is.
Yes.
So her, and I guess she is like 5 or 9 or whatever.
She's technically 10, but she seems
10.
younger.
Yeah. Yeah. So she's a kid still. So maybe this one interaction that she has with him, she doesn't fully remember, but just remembers this old dude who was friends with my dad who helped me out. So then that's why she is calling out to him again for help. Mm-hmm. So that makes sense. The fact that, yeah, she knows that he's a Jedi, and in the new movie, yeah, it makes the original trilogy. I'm trying. Yeah, it makes a lot of things not make sense in the original trilogy.
Mm-hmm. Well, we know now
she's
that
like, oh wow, you are a Jedi. Like she already knows who those are and what those are. Yeah.
Well, who's the head of Lucasfilm again? I forgot her name.
Kathleen Kennedy.
Kathleen Kennedy. Well, we know now that she hires people who have never seen Star Wars. So, not a surprise if the scripts aren't always double checked to make sure everything works.
She directed this episode, the first 2 episodes, I believe. She was credited. It was 2 people credited for, and Ewan McGregor is an executive producer on all of the episodes. Oh no, this one. Okay, so episode 2 was done by Deborah Chow, who did arguably some of the best
Mando.
She did a bunch of really good Mandalorian episodes, and I think a couple of the really good Book of Boba Fett ones. I think she was working on that as well. So this episode 2 was done by Deborah Chow. The first one, I believe, or the first episode was Kathleen Kennedy. I remember seeing her name.
Okay. Well, that makes sense that I like the second one more than the first.
Yeah.
But yeah, there are more moments in this second one that I felt that I enjoyed. They were a bit more Star Wars-y. One thing I didn't mention about the first one, but I hated this about the first one. When you watch A New Hope, or basically any Star Wars movie up until episode 7 and beyond, the ratio of humans to aliens is there's very few humans to aliens. It's kind of an equal mix between all the different species. But in Disney's version of Star Wars, there are always vastly more humans than aliens. And I found that in the first episode in Tatooine, which is a place that usually has more aliens than humans by far. Coruscant is one of the few planets where I'd say there'd be more humans than aliens, or Naboo.
Yeah.
Tatooine, which is supposed to have more alien species, had nearly everyone was human and only a couple aliens. And then sometimes they'll have a human speaking a different alien language. I hated that because it makes me feel like, oh, this is a Disney ride or low budget because they didn't want to do all the makeup.
Yeah, I was going to say that seems like a budgetary thing. And
still bothers me. The second one was a little better. I found there's more variety. It made me feel more like we're on in a different universe, in a galaxy far, far away, rather than just somewhere in Vegas in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And actually, no, sorry. Deborah Chow directed both these episodes.
Okay, so maybe I just didn't like the first one for a couple more reasons.
Yeah. I would say this one was better than the first episode. So yeah, I'll give it like a 7.5. Well, it's let's say a half point better than the first episode. I loved the clone trooper little thing. I don't like that the Inquisitor got stabbed, but maybe he's still alive and he gets pissed and then he kills the third sister.
Yeah.
And then he takes over or whatever.
Oh, one more thing. Sorry. one thing, this really annoyed me in the second episode. Not really. It was just kind of like, what is going on? When he's like, some of the garrison, I want the whole garrison here, and then 6 stormtroopers walk in like out of sync, not very good marching. The marching is not too much of a bother. It's just 6 of them walking, and it's like, oh, that's the whole garrison.
We brought them all.
This is not intimidating at all to anyone in the area.
Yeah.
Why do they have any control here? But budget.
Yep, budget.
I thought they would have a better budget though for this. This is the Obi-Wan Kenobi show.
Yeah, but maybe
they spent it all on the set, maybe, because the set for the second one I thought looked great.
Sets were amazing.
Yep.
Special effects is really good.
Oh yeah, so, very, very good.
Yeah, sets and special effects and like set deck and costumes, all really, really good. It felt like a Star Wars movie. It looks like a Star Wars movie, and so yeah, I think a good chunk of the budget definitely went for that. And I haven't seen anything on the internet of like you being able to see a camera person or like weird fuck ups like that, like we did in Boba Fett, which was a lot.
That was pretty funny.
So, yeah. Well, I'm excited to see where this goes. Next week we have episode 3, and then we're halfway through the season. And oh
yeah,
I don't know. Oh, it's okay. Is it turning out better than the start of Book of Boba Fett, in your opinion?
Oh, do you know what? I didn't hate the start of the Book of Boba Fett. I just like the start of it, but I did hate the middle and the end because it didn't pick up. I thought they were just going to give us a slow introduction the first episode or 2, and then things would pick up back on the modern day. No, never did. This at least is moving along, and when they do flashbacks to the past, it's quick and it's impactful, which I like.
We don't get half of an episode of him dreaming, which good work, Disney. You didn't fuck up.
But we get a couple quick flashbacks here and there, and then we have the veteran clone trooper, and that's pretty much it.
We get some good story beats, and good flashbacks, and some good world building for sure. I'm excited for the next episode. I am apprehensive because I've been disappointed before, but it's definitely going in a direction that I'm excited to see. So I guess we'll see next week. Maybe Alvin will be here for a bunch of Las Vegas stories and how he now has a tiger or a face tattoo. So thanks for watching Popcorn Chicken. Be sure to hit the like and subscribe and leave a comment, and you might be able to win a prize. And let us know what you think about Ewan McGregor's beard, because it's bitching. All right.
It's very nice.
Bye, internet. Say goodbye, deal.